Oh, gotcha.
Got you, did you? Oh, I was wondering if you were working on that.
Hello,
Oh,
hello, hello, hello.
hello.
Oh,
Hello,
yes,
Alka.
greetings of peace. Yes, hello, Tony. Greetings of peace, love, and happiness to all our lovely, fantastic, feisty, fearless, and fantastic, what do I say, viewers from all across the globe, our audience, our brothers, our sisters, humanitarians, lovely people out there, beautiful souls. Hey, Tony, where are you? You've
I mean,
disappeared.
am I? Oh,
Yeah,
let's
what
start
happened?
video. Don't know.
Oh,
There I
now it's
am.
better. Now it's better. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before this amazing personality, you know what? A wanderlust, traveling all over the globe, collecting stories, gathering stories, learning from experiences, in the process, ensuring that everyone's physically as well as mentally healthy, doing a lot of breathing techniques, pranayam, yoga, traveling God knows how many countries, meeting God knows how many people, teaching people, authoring books, and doing radio in a big, big way. Ladies and gentlemen, my beautiful friends, my global brothers and sisters, meet the charismatic, the charming storyteller. That's what he loves the most, about himself, that he is a storyteller. And yes, he is. Tony Cranston from the United Kingdom. Hello, Tony. Good to see you again.
Hello, Alka. Namaste. Nice to see
Wow,
you again.
namaste.
Ni- Nice to see
I
you
like that.
again.
I remember.
Oh,
I taught you one Hindi word. Do you remember that? We'll begin
oh
with that.
uh, wow. Wow. Yeah,
Amazing,
wow.
amazing. You've got amazing memory, and I think this is because of your storytelling. And of course, the lot of yoga that you do and ensure that physical fitness is in place. And uh, isn't that? I mean, let's begin with that. How do you manage so many roles in one single day? A day has only 24 hours. So, how do you manage?
Oh, it's because I'm getting old and I've learned how to do these things. That's all there is to it. I started teaching yoga 47 years this year, 47 years ago,
Oh,
but I practiced
wow.
yoga since I was about 10. I teach classes, I do my own yoga at home, 10 minutes every day. 10 minutes every day, twice a day for
Really?
47 years.
Oh
47 years.
my goodness,
And that gives
great
me
for
all the energy
you.
that I need.
Oh,
If I
yes,
tell
I'm
myself to
sure
do
about
one
that.
hour, I won't do it. 10 minutes
I'm
is
sure
good.
about that. You
Yeah.
know, your
And so
yoga.
I teach yoga classes and I tell stories and I get the occasions to write sometimes and do Zoom presentations like this and got more free time because my wife is in Hong Kong right now. So I have a lot of free time.
Ah, okay. So you're the bachelor at the moment.
Yeah. Not very
Amazing.
eligible at my age, I know, but I'm here. I'm here.
I
I'm
love that
still
spirit.
kicking.
Well,
I'm still moving. My brain's still intact. Yes.
that's amazing. Isn't that the amazing part, I mean, life is beautiful, and that's the way you treat it, with a lot of positivity, energy, and storytelling. Wow, wow. So tell me, I mean, when did this moving around, traveling, wanderlust that you had, when did this begin? What age? Because I know that you
Oh,
had been gathering stories from a very young age.
yes.
So
It
when was
was
it?
my mother telling stories about my father in World War II when he was in the Navy, traveling the world. And those stories and that traveling in those places, that was the seed of everything. But I do remember, my mom would tell you this, I do remember when I was about 4 years old, having an argument with my mom and said, right, that's it. I'm packing my bags and I'm off to China. And I remember packing a bag, put a blanket in to make it look full, put a shirt on the top, and I left and went down to the end of the street and crossed the road all by myself and sat on the wall for ages. She never come to get me. I had to ask a stranger, and you know you're not supposed to talk to strangers, but I had to ask a stranger to go and get someone, go and tell my mom I haven't gone very far yet, she can still get me. So I
So
still remember that,
did she
and I've
come to
been running
get
away
you?
to China ever since. I
Ah,
finally got there when I was 37.
you did. But why did you choose China?
Don't know. Just always had a liking for everything Chinese, hence the Chinese shirt today. It's
Yeah,
Chinese New Year,
it's
Gong Hei Fat
amazing. I
Choi,
love it.
or Xian Yan Kuai Le.
Oh,
And
I don't know much of Chinese. But you know what?
Gong Hei
Guess
Fat
what? You
Choi
know?
just means stay healthy. Hmm?
Yeah. Guess what? Uh, I have a Chinese connection. Now you'll ask me how. Well,
How?
my parents decided that I should be born in China. So that's where I was born. But I don't know anything beyond that.
So have you got Chinese nationality as well?
No, no, no.
Oh, well, okay. Might be
But I was
useful one
born
day.
there. I was born there.
Yeah, good. Maybe you
I
could
think
claim it one day.
yeah, I think it was known as Beijing or Peking. I don't know what is it known as now?
Beijing now.
Beijing, right. So that time
Peking
it
in
was
old days.
Peking. It was Peking. That's what that's
Ah,
what my parents tell me. So you
Peking
have a
for them,
Chinese
yes.
connection with this friend of yours.
Yeah. It's good. I've always loved
Good.
China. And if not China, India, because it was next door to China. And because of
Absolutely.
that, I got interested in yoga.
Yeah.
And yoga has kept me fit and healthy all of this time. Actually, there's a quote for you. The World Health Organization in the late 1980s
Hmm.
said that any exercise form without mind content has limited value for humankind. So
Ah,
the
this is
only
powerful.
exercises, when you think about it, only exercises are with mind content are yoga, Tai Chi or Qigong, and playing. Sports would be good, playing would be good, walking would be good. All
I
of those
love
things
walking.
like that.
Yeah, I love
Walking is one of
walking.
the best exercises there is. There usually is.
Absolutely. It keeps the mind active because when you're walking, also, you have to be very mindful of every step that you're taking. And many times, the best thoughts come to your mind when you're walking. I've noticed that for
Yes,
myself. I think
yes.
it happens with most of us, when you're
The
walking.
air, the air, the surroundings, the action, the
Yeah.
blood pumping through your brain clears your head and you start thinking. You
Yeah.
start thinking. And it works so well,
Yeah.
wonderfully well. I would say it's the best exercise. I met a yogi
Hmm.
once who asked me, he said, I always ask these questions of everyone. What
Hmm.
is the best exercise you can think of? And I said, oh, straight away, walking. And he jumped out of his seat to shake my hand. He said, you're the first person ever I've met meeting a yogi that didn't say something like Trikonasana or something,
Oh,
Trikonasana or
Trikonasana. You remember
Virabhadrasana,
these
you
long
know.
names, huh? Trikonasana.
Well, I call them
Wow.
every day, so I teach every day, so I have to. Yeah, it
Oh,
was part of
yes,
the
yes,
training to learn
absolutely.
them.
But they all
Anyway,
have English names too. But they all have English names. But I love the fact that you're using those the names that they're originally of. That's the best part because they all have English names as well.
and they all have stories behind them. The warrior. All of these
Yeah, the
people, all these
warrior
characters
pose.
from the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
All of these
Oh,
things. Yeah.
you know Mahabharat. Wow.
Oh, I read it when I was about 10 years old.
Ah, amazing.
I
What do you
read
remember
a
from that?
prose version. It
Okay,
had
so a story from
75,000 verses.
Mahabharat that's still in your mind. A story from Mahabharat, short way,
Oh,
that's still in your mind because it has a lot of impact.
well, the main one, of course, when the battle was about to be held, when
Okay.
Arjuna is in his chariot, wondering, is it right to go and kill my cousins and slaughter them all? Is it right? And his charioteer said, of course it is. They are a cancer. You have to get rid of them. You fight the good fight. And that person was Krishna. So
You
I always remembered
are
that.
amazing. You remember Krishna, you remember Arjuna. Wow.
Yeah, or part of my uh, upbringing.
Ah,
So
yes.
I had stories of Krishna, I had stories of Arjuna, and another one at about 10 years old, I read the records of the grand historian in China, and I learned all of those stories that he and his son took their lifetimes to write. And one of the stories was so fantastic, so wonderful, so big that everyone thought it would be no good, no, impossible, totally impossible, could never happen. But it did. They found the first emperor's tomb in Xi'an. And he wrote about it in the 6th century.
Wow, you even remember the dates and the decades and everything. That's amazing, the century. Oh,
Close.
wow.
Close.
Ah, amazing, amazing. So, what would you say the impact of storytelling is? I mean, how does it affect our lives? I mean, we're all talking of education, and these days in education, especially since we have the UN SDGs, which say that quality education will happen by 2030. And people have
Ah,
started, educators have started using a lot of storytelling. How do you say this is going to really impact and make learning sustainable?
our brain
Mm-hmm.
is very pliable. It
Mm,
makes trillions of contacts all the time.
mm,
It's little bumps inside, bumping this one, little one, this one, and they're making all of these connections. It's very
right.
pliable. Uh, if you learn something with bullet points, one, blah, 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 two, blah, 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 three, blah, 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 there's only two parts of your brain that will learn. That's the Broca's area and Wernicke area, old parts of the brain. They're the only two that would be connected. But if you tell a story about something, then every single part of the brain is connected, every bit of it. So if a storyteller is talking to you about somebody running fast or something big and huge or something wonderfully creative and magical, then that part of his brain is switched on because he's telling it or she's telling it, but so is the part of the listener.
Mm,
They are switched on. And in fact, there's another quote for you. Professor Einstein
mm,
in New York once, a woman asked him, "Sir, my child wants to be intelligent like you. What book should he read?"
mm.
And he said, "Madam, if you want your child to be educated, read him fairy tales." I said, "What do you mean? He wants to be a scientist like you. What kind of book should he read? He wants to be good like you." And he said, "In that case, madam, if you want your child to be really educated, read him more fairy tales."
I love
But
this.
he went on to explain that the areas in the brain that make you clever,
Mm,
intelligent,
mm.
scientist, astrologer, um, painter, writer, all the clever things that we could be are the same areas that work when you are listening to or telling or reading a fairy tale or folk tale or story. Same areas. So if you want those parts of the brain to be exercised, read a fairy tale.
Oh, I love
And if
fairy tales.
Einstein says this one, wow, who can
Wow, yeah.
argue?
Well,
Who can argue?
perhaps I didn't know that, but yes, I've always been fond of fairy tales. And till date, I have a fairy tale book right at my back, big fat one. And every day I just open the page, whatever story comes, I just read it. 5 minutes,
That's
10
good.
minutes before bedtime. I mean, I love it. I feel it takes me to a land, where the impossible
Yes,
becomes possible. And you can if you're thinking of something or if you imagine something here, it will happen. It will happen
yes,
as long as you believe
yes,
in what you can do. And if you can keep on doing and moving forward and forward and forward, I think you can do it. And your point, making that point over here about story tales, please, parents all over the globe, this is a new age parenting trick. Read fairy tales and more fairy tales and more fairy tales to your
yes,
little children. Because what
yes.
happens? Tony, please tell them what happens when story tales are being read. And this is parenting, please, for all of us learning forever. What is it, Tony? What happens?
Every single part of your brain follows the story. if you were learning anything at school or anything from a book, it goes to here first, in the reception area, the forehead of the brain, this area, the reception area. It
Right.
stays there. It doesn't go anywhere until you go to sleep. And with a good sleep, it goes to all the other different parts, areas of the brain where it is stored and used at some point in the future. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 1 year, 1 week from now, it'll be used. It'll be used because it's being stored. So that's one of the tricks. Learn to just accept it and then sleep on it. And then you will learn. You will learn much faster. When you listen to a story, well, can you think of any teacher, any big teacher from the past? Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Garanga, Krishna, Lao Tzu, Confucius, all of these people, all of them were storytellers.
Stories.
And
Oh,
they didn't
yes.
say, do this or do that. They told you a story about how
Story.
to do
Yeah.
this. They told you the
You're so
story of the
right.
Good Samaritan.
Beautiful point
You hear
made
the
here.
story of Krishna moving the mountain,
Hmm.
or all of those. You hear all of these things. They are stories, and that's why we remember. That's why we follow. That's why we believe. That's why we cherish these things, because of the story, not because of the bullet points or the facts and figures.
Oh, no, facts and figures don't get us anywhere. I remember history classes were always interesting when our teachers, narrated some kind of a story
Ah,
relating to that fact. I mean, they wouldn't make it like facts per se, because then it'll be like, oh, this battle was fought in this year, and this king and this political leader and that. You'll
yes,
forget half of them. You'll forget more than half of them at times. And when there was a story narration leading up to the,
you
the main,
remember.
you'll remember
Yeah,
it. Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
I completely agree with you. And this is the wonderful part and the powerful part and impact of storytelling. And the
Mm,
fact that fairy tales, oh yes, I think 15 minutes a day is advisable before going to bed. If parents can read stories to their children, or children can read stories to their parents, it just
yes.
sort of makes the family. I think it just bonds. There's a huge bond of love, of affection, of togetherness between the family members. So I think storytelling has a lot of impact. The only thing is that at times, people are so worked up with all their day's routine and the work that they
Yeah.
have, that their laptops, even at 12 p.m. at night, they're working on their laptops, getting things done, they're making their presentations and all that. I think the more natural it is, and
Ah,
in the form of a story, like you said, I think life would become simpler, more easier, more
yes,
beautiful, right?
yes, yes. And it's funny you should say that, because as a grown up, we tend to reach a stage in our life where our work is the same every day. We leave the house, we
Yeah.
go to work, we do this, we do that, we come back, we feed the kids, we put them to bed, we go to sleep, we watch the same TV programs. 20 years can go by like that, and our brain is stuck in a rut.
Yes.
And it's hard to get it out of that rut later. You have to shake it sometimes. Always try something new. Always try something new. The brain keeps going if you keep learning something new,
Yeah.
learning something, or even learning the same thing but from a different angle, from a different point of view. Just learning from a different point of view. I learn stories because I like stories, but now I learn stories because I can write them and I can tell them and I can get paid for it and I can travel the world to do it. And I've been just about everywhere. I've been to outside of the UK. I've been telling stories in 72 towns and cities outside the UK.
Wow.
I keep a record. So
Oh,
that's
amazing.
not
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
This is people
Storytelling,
saying, "Hey, come to
storytelling
France and
power,
tell a
right?
story."
The memory becomes better, and you remember all the facts because of your storytelling. Ah, amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I remember all of those things, and somehow the stories seem to connect with other things. If I'm doing a yoga class,
Hmm.
at the end of a yoga class, we would do a visualization. So, lying or sitting comfortably, imagine yourself walking by a stream. Okay, but I would start in another time, in another place. Imagine yourself now walking by a crystal clear stream. And sometimes you could tell a folk tale and make it a visualization, which I've done many times, many times.
Ah, amazing.
The world mixes. The world mixes. I found that in my life, it seems that you want to go somewhere, you have this plan of doing something, but somebody else decides that no, you're going to go that way, and they push you somewhere else. And no matter what you try, you still get pushed to the same direction you meant to go in. And then after years, you realize, yep, that's what I meant to do. That's what I was supposed to do. So, and I
So
also
is there
know
any,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
So you also know that?
Oh, so I also know that if you have the dream
Mm-hmm.
of doing something, then it's been given to you, and that nobody can stop you doing that. If you want to do it, you can do it. You can do it.
Absolutely.
If you were given the thought to do it, you can do it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you'd
if
never
the
been
thought
given it
comes
in the
here,
first place.
if the thought
Yeah,
comes here, I think it's come there to tell you that you have to do it and you will do it. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the best way to look at it. Wow, amazing.
yeah. You've been
So,
allowed to do it.
yeah, yeah. So, what
Mhm.
were your experiences, in your travel? Did people, how did people take to your storytelling? How were they impacted? Any powerful thought, any powerful story that comes to your mind that you've changed the life of a person because of your storytelling, or while on your travels, or even otherwise in the various towns that you've been? I mean, you visited 72 towns, you told me. So any 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 place that really sort of changed your mindset as well? Was there any? So
Meeting.
let's check your
Oh,
memory. So I'm checking your memory to tell people the power of storytelling.
meeting other storytellers is wonderful. You know, if you go on holiday anywhere, you if you were a painter, I can guarantee you go on holiday somewhere with you and your wife and your family, and you will probably meet another painter or writer or something. Well, I'm a storyteller, so I will meet up with another storyteller, and storytellers can't wait to tell you a story.
Sorry.
And so I learned so many just on the street talking to someone. I've learned them in Shanghai. Um, I was in Shanghai once. The first day I was there was a fellow doing Tai Chi,
Uh-huh.
an old fellow doing Tai Chi. And since I do
Okay.
Tai Chi, I was watching him. But he must
Mm-hmm.
have saw me because the next day it was raining really heavy. And he was under
Uh-huh.
this umbrella playing chess. And he said, "Hey, English," which is very polite for saying, "Hello, can I help you?"
Okay.
And
Okay.
he said, "Come over and play chess."
Uh-huh.
So I went over to play chess. And the moment he found I was a storyteller, he told me the story about the day the Japanese came into Shanghai, and a story about his grandparents. And that
Wow.
story had an impact on me, never mind anyone else. But there are, I think India has possibly the best at the moment thing for storytelling, whatever you would
Oh,
call
yes.
it. Even your Prime Minister Modi is keen on storytelling. On his radio program, he told everybody to stay at home and tell stories, go back into storytelling and get everybody
Yes.
to do it. He's really keen. And there's some Shania Singh, as a little girl in India. She's wonderful at telling stories. But there's another girl, Saivi Singh, and she's got Guinness Book of Records for telling, I think it was 1,471 stories from a photograph.
Wow.
Just, she's
Yeah,
got this
you're right.
wonderful
You're
brain.
right.
She's learning
We
4
have a couple of
languages,
geniuses. We have a lot of genius wonder kids in India. And I
but you
think,
promote them. You promote them, encourage them.
oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh,
In
yes.
England, oh yes, yes, that's very good. Oh yes, that's about the best you get. But in India or even in America, they go, "Wow, wonderful! Do it
Yes.
again. Let me hear. Hey, everybody, look at this. Oh, isn't they so good? You should do this. You should do that." And
Uh,
encourage them. And
I
encourage
love
them.
your histrionics and your theatrics because you're a storyteller. So the theatrics comes naturally to you.
Comes in the same with the yoga classes too. Hey, do this
So you
exercise.
mentioned yoga classes. Storytelling, does it have an impact on our mental wellness
Yes,
and physical wellness as
yes.
well? Okay, tell us.
If your body is fit, doing yoga and so on, your brain will be fit. But if your brain is fit, then you will start to think, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you want to learn this, and you want to learn that. It's not stuck in a rut yet. And therefore, you do things more, and you become more active, and you experience more, and you try things more, so you stay fit. So one affects the other. Um, you need amount of brain fitness. I know you have all kinds of games and things you could do on your phone to keep your brain healthy, but anything that involves both sides of your brain will keep you fit.
Is that
Anything to
healthy,
do with
using the phone for games? Is that healthy? What do
it
you
is,
say?
but if you do the same one over and over and over again, then it gets boring
Okay,
and you get
okay.
brain stuck in the rut. So you
So
have to
you need to
change.
keep on reinventing yourself and your games.
Yes. Anything you do with your hands and fingers, you do with your brain.
Okay.
So any exercises, any movement whatsoever, if you're playing cards, you're playing chess, you're playing any kind of game, hand games, dancing, all of these things that you might do, all good for the brain. Yeah, hand jive. Yes, I remember those days. Everything
Ah,
is good for the brain, but in that
okay.
sense. Um,
So do you dance also,
writing
or
as
do you?
best you can. Hmm?
But you do yoga. Do you dance also? Since you made such fantastic moves, you came across as a wonderful dancer also to me. So is that your hidden
Uh,
talent?
I used to be a dancer a
Ah,
long time
gotcha,
ago when I was young. When I was young,
gotcha.
but my
Oh yeah,
dancing was a very much sort of like
oh,
you know.
the ballroom and waltz dancing.
But I couldn't do ballroom dancing. I tried to learn the waltz, but I can't do it. Um, well, it should come in handy one day. Maybe I should learn how to do that. The steps dancing is wonderful for your brain. It's one of the
Okay.
best things there is. But playing, you know how grandparents play with their grandchildren. It's wonderful. It's the best thing you could do for your brain. And children are always asking questions, so the grandparent always has to answer. And they do. And they have
And they're
good
very good at that
conversations.
because they love
Yes,
stories.
yes. The thing about, I don't know about Indian society, but Western society has gone downhill a lot for the old people. We're not supporting them. We have parents who have learned to get rid of their children, get them out, get married, and have done with them. But those children never come back. They never see their parents once a year, Christmas time or something. And the parents stay alone and they stay silent and they have no one to talk to. And I've seen here many times an elderly woman come to her gate of her house and just look from side to side,
To see
hoping
whether
that
her
somebody might
daughter or
walk back
son
and say
are
hello.
coming to her. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
So if you ever see
That's
anybody
sad.
like that, please do say hello and stop and say speak to the moment. It'll make all their
So,
day. It'll
senior
make them
citizens,
happy.
please, everyone, let's be more sensitive towards. I mean, it's a small thing, but I think parents
Yes.
have those wonderful stories, they're wonderful tales to tell us, and we'll benefit by listening to them because, somewhere I feel they're always, whenever we're stuck in some kind of a complex problem, we remember our fathers or our great grandfathers or our grandfathers' words, and they say something, when this kind of a thing happens, do this. And sometimes,
Yes.
when lo and behold, it does work. So it is so
Yes.
important to stay connected.
Because
I
they
think
taught you from
especially,
experience. And
yes,
there was a story there, and you remember it's still in the darkest part of your mind, but it still comes out in the deepest
yes.
part, and it still comes out. It's wonderful
You
how your
remember the
brain
way they
works.
made you, face your fears because sometimes, you cannot face your fears. But then you remember, oh, my grandfather used to say this to me, and my grandmom used to say this to me. So let me do it. Let me give it. I can do this. And then I'll remember them and I'll do it. So I think this happens with all of us, and this again is talking about the impact that a story has because whatever they shared with us was like a story. The fact that
Mm.
I think the fact that they used to narrate stories to us. I remember my grandmom telling me, I used to tell her, I want to hear the story of Hansel and Gretel all over again. I want to hear Jack and the Beanstalk. And she would keep on telling me. And she told me that, that tree, and he kept on climbing and climbing. And I also thought, I also want to go high, high, high. So, it
And
gives
in your
those.
mind, all of those parts were climbing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
I
and they're
think it's
switched on.
lovely. And then
Mm,
you are just thinking that, okay, I'm not going to stop. I have to be unstoppable. Somehow we have to be unstoppable. Just keep going. I think this is a legacy that comes
mhm,
from
mhm,
parents,
mhm.
from our
Yes.
senior citizens, from the ones who have more experience than us. And maybe by
Yes.
soon we will have that experience too.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Your brain is hardwired for stories. Every time we
Yeah.
talk to anyone, you say to a child, "What happened to school today?" And they'll tell you the
Mm.
story of what happened to school. Or tell me about your friend. They'll tell you the story about your friend. If you have a little conversation with anyone, you're always telling the story about it. You're sitting in a cafe and you're telling the story about it all the time. This is what we do. This is how we communicate with stories. So the more we
So,
learn how to use stories, the better. The
so,
better.
so,
If you have a
we-
good song, it's the story behind it. If you have a good movie, it's the story. If you have a good book, it's the story. You know, I have a good teacher, it's the stories they tell. To be a
mm,
teacher in a school, be a teacher plus and be a storyteller as well. You will be the best loved teacher in the whole school if you could tell stories as well. And
absolutely,
long
I
after they
agree
left
with you.
school and they become grandparents, they'll still remember you.
You're right.
Still, I remember
You're
all of
right.
my teachers.
You're bang on. You're bang on. I think this is the power of stories. This is the power. And okay, so storytelling, can we use storytelling? I mean, we can, but can you think of, I want you to tell before we say goodbye. I mean, we can go on because I know this is a topic very close to your heart. And that is why maybe you'll come back to talk more about stories. But the point is that, I would like you to narrate a story to all our global audience, which talks about peace, love, spreading smiles, understanding self worth, because these are important. These are important. Materialism is here today. You may not, sometimes, you have all the money, but you don't know what to do with that money. But if you have your connections intact, you know if there is peace, if there is love, isn't the world more beautiful? So can we think of something, or maybe some yoga, uh, using your storytelling for the with the message of peace, love, and happiness?
I have a story, but it will take 10 minutes to tell. Have we got that?
Okay. Okay, we'll end with this. So everyone, we're going to say bye, but this is our farewell parting story for all of you. This message of peace, of love, and happiness through a story, so that you'll never forget it, because this is what we need. Planet Earth needs to be a beautiful place to live in. That's how we can all live in harmony. Stay blessed, stay happy, stay blissful, stay beautiful. This is the way. So let's hear it from you, Tony.
This is the very first story I ever wrote. It was published worldwide. I've rewritten it several times, but this is the version as it is now. Once there was a little girl called May. Now, May means pretty in Chinese, but everybody called this little girl Mei Mei because she was not only pretty, but she had a pretty heart. She was kind and gentle, and she always had a good heart. Now, she lived with her granddad, who was called Lao Nan. Now, Lao means old, and Nan means man, which is quite a good name for an old man, Lao Nan. Okay? And Lao Nan used to work in the fields, but he's a bit too old for this now, but he could still do very good embroidery. And he could sew and embroider dragons and phoenixes and all kinds of things on clothing. And he was well sought after his work. People liked it for weddings, for parties, and children for their birthday presents, for costumes and things. Now, he'd been working all night on a costume of the goddess Guan Yin, the Avalokitesvara, Avalokita, and the goddess Guan Yin. and he said to his little girl, May, can you take it to a girl in the other village through the forest? It's for her birthday. She's only about 8 years old, like you. Can you take it? So they wrapped it up in brown paper and string, and off she went, down out of the village, down the road, up the hill, past the graveyard, and through into the forest. But as she was walking through the forest, she could hear this whack, 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 bang, 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 and somebody shouting and saying, "Oh, please leave me alone. What did I do? Ow, 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 ow. Please leave me alone. What did I do? What? I never hurt you." And somebody laughing, going, "Ho, ho, ho, ho." Now, May was a clever girl, just like you. She's a very clever girl. So she hid behind the trees and peered out. And she saw these big pirates, these bandits with spears and with swords and big knives. And they captured a baby dragon on the ground, tied it up, and they were beating it. And the dragon was saying, "Please leave me alone, don't, ow, 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 please hurt me." But they were just laughing. May, just a little girl, thought, "Oh, what can I do?" She was so sorry for it. But she was quick at thinking, and she'd heard all the stories. So with her story, she said, she opened up the costume, put the costume of the goddess Guan Yin, and stood up on a rock where everybody could see her. And in the biggest voice she could muster for a young girl, she said, "Leave that dragon alone." And the pirates, the bandits, turned around to see who would dare speak to them in such a fashion. But when they looked around, there was the goddess Guan Yin, the goddess of poor people, the goddess of the fisher people, goddess of dragons on the rock. They were terrified. They said, "Quick, we better run. This is the goddess Guan Yin. Oh, no, she'll protect the dragon. We better run, because they were bullies. And, bullies are all cowards. Everybody knows that. So they ran away. And quickly, May got off the rock, untied the dragon, and that dragon was so thankful. He said, May, I know why you're called May, because you have a good heart. But I'm going to give you 3 wishes. What would you wish for? So she wanted crowns for her head, and the dragon gave her some crowns. She wanted money and gold and silver, and she got money and gold and silver. And for a 3rd wish, she asked for a big house for her and her granddad, Lao Nan, to live in at the end of the village. And the dragon said, "Go home and you will find your granddad in that house." So they lived quite happily until one day, someone in the village got the sniffles and began to feel shivery and cold. And they went to bed to try to get better and take some medicine. But they didn't get better. They never got out of bed again. They died. Oh. One by one, people got the sniffles and went to bed. Uncles, aunties, grandmas, granddads, baby sisters, baby brothers, all went to bed to try to get better. But none of them ever did. They all died. May sold her crowns. She spent all her money to bring doctors. But the doctors couldn't do anything. She couldn't sell her house because nobody wanted to buy a house where the plague had come. So she thought, "Oh, what can I do?" But then it happened. Lao Nan, her granddad, got the sniffles. And he felt cold and shivery and thought he'd better go to bed to keep warm and get better. And May was thinking, "Oh no, not Lao Nan, not my granddad. What am I going to do? What am I going to do without Lao Nan? Oh no, oh no, no, oh no, oh no. I've only had my wishes again." And somewhere above the clouds, a young dragon heard her. And he peered in the sky and he said, May, you truly have a good heart. I'm going to give you your 3 wishes again. What would you wish for? Well, money and jewels were no good to her anymore. She knew that, no good at all. So she said, I wish that this plague would go away and never come back again. And the dragon said, so be it.
Ah,
And it never came back. For a second wish, she said, but what about all the aunties and uncles and baby sisters and brothers and all of those who died? Can they come back again? And the dragon slowly pointed his claws up to the graveyard at the top of the hill. And all of these aunties and uncles and baby brothers and sisters come running down the hill, and they all hugged and kissed each other and laughed. And oh, it was a great time. But she still had one wish. And she thought, well, money's no good, house is no good, I don't need any of them. What can I do? And then she said, I know, Mr. Dragon, I'm going to give you the wish. Well, the dragon had always given other people wishes, but people were always greedy and selfish, and that they kept the wishes for themselves. Nobody ever gave him a wish. He didn't know what to do with it. What can I do with a wish? He thought and he thought and he thought. And then he thought, I know. I wish from now on that all us young dragons can disguise ourselves as little boys and girls, so that no one will ever see us again and capture us and beat us up. And that
right.
is why children, that is why parents, that is why teachers, no one ever sees a dragon to this day, because they're all disguised as little boys and little girls. The end.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? You know, I think again, it boils down to just two, three words that, a beautiful heart can create magic.
Mm-hmm.
Magic that not only helps the person himself or herself, but also others. Like the girl wished for, all the aunties and uncles coming back to life, all the good times coming back. I think it all boils down to this. Everyone craves for love, for connections, for that communication between one another. If you can stay connected some way, even through the power of stories, then why not? I think more than anything else, if we go back to the COVID times, I think that time it was only our communication that we had that kept all of
Yes.
us going. So I think we should keep that in mind and remember that, if should there be any kind of a trouble, it's always our communication, our care, our love, our understanding, and our clean heart, a pure, clean, good heart that will always remain and take us places. That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What do I say? It was breathtaking. And I loved your theatrics, and I loved the way your voice went up and down, like the ebb and the tide, like the highs and the lows. It was beautifully narrated. Of course, I mean, you're very good at that. But I do
Thank you,
hope
thank
it
you, thank
has
you.
I do hope it's created an impact on everyone who listens to it,
Oh,
watches
they
it
do. They talk
live.
about they talk about COVID and everything with small children because they know about COVID, but they've never talked to
Yeah.
anybody about it. Now they can, and they
Yes.
express themselves and what a terrible time it was and how happy people, their family was still alive and everything, because it must have been in their head that, oh, people die. What about my parents and my grandparents? But they survived, and so they now can say, I'm happy they did. Can you imagine that story is going to be with them for a long time? And I see the children, different classes from the same school every week, but they come only twice per year. And when they come back, they say, oh, tell us that story again. They know that story and they like it. So, please.
I would say you just keep inspiring with your stories, encourage people to share their stories because their stories
Mm,
are life
that's what
experiences.
we do on the radio.
Yes, yes. I think that's the wonderful part. And at the end of the day, I think they only talk about one thing, that we all are together, and
Mm-hmm.
let's all connect. Let's all keep the flames of love, of friendship, of care, of connections growing strong and stronger
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
strongest. So with that, thank you so much. As always, it's always interesting meeting you, chatting with you, because the chat is more of a story. And I love stories. So thank
Tell me
you.
when you're coming back to London again, we can meet up
Very
again.
soon, very soon,
Oh,
very
really?
soon.
Good, good,
Yes.
good, good. The weather's getting
So,
better.
oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Last time it was like so cold.
Oh, I know. I know. It's about 12 degrees today and 12 degrees only, but it's sunny.
It's getting better.
Very
It's
sunny.
getting better. I mean,
Yes.
I saw the -6 over there, so -6, -7.
Ah, wow. I know. Stay indoors. But they
Yeah.
get good
Yeah.
snow stories too, so it's
Oh,
good for telling
yes.
stories.
Next time, let's do that. Let's do that. The
Yeah,
snow
yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, we
But
could do that.
yes. So, bye-bye to all of you. Thank you so much for, being with us. And even if you weren't here now, maybe you can join later, watch this, and tell us what you felt about the power of stories and what you felt about the last story that Tony just now narrated to us. So, with that, stay happy, stay beautiful, stay blessed, stay bountiful, stay blissful, because at the end of the day, we all together are living in a beautiful planet Earth. So let's keep it that way, with the power of love, with the power of happiness, with the power of smiles, and with the power of connections and meeting and talking to wonderful people. Thank you, Tony. You were amazing. This is Dhanyavad. In Hindi, in India, this is known as Dhanyavad. So namaste is when you say hello, and Dhanyavad is when you say thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And how do you say?
Dhanyavad, Dhanyavad.
Tanyavad.
Yeah, so you learned
Tanyavad.
another word today. Wow. Why is like
Tanyavad. Good,
wow.
good,
Why is
good,
like
good.
wow. Dhanyavad is thank you.
Tanyavad. Okay, I
So
remember that in my
dhanyavad to
classes.
everybody.
Tanyavad.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you
Bye-bye.
again. Bye bye.
Sure. Sure. Very soon.
Very soon.
Yes.